Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Ask the Bootmaker. Our guest today is a custom bootmaker in Oklahoma who has been apprenticing with Randy Moe. He won the Artistry Intermediate category and the Top Stitching Open category at the 2022 Wichita Falls Boot and Saddle Maker Roundup, and he was just one of a couple folks to come away with 2 awards from that boot competition. Plus, he has boot and shoe repair right there in Oklahoma as well. Please welcome Bobby Myers to this episode of Ask the Bootmaker. How's it going, Bobby? Thanks for joining us today.
It's going good. How are you, Jeremiah?
I'm doing spectacular. I'm really excited to have you here. One big reason is because you won 2 awards at the last Boot and Saddle Maker Roundup in Wichita Falls, and I think the only other person to do that was Blucher Boots. I think was the only other place to do that. So, what an accomplishment! Congratulations again on that. And I want to get into that a little bit, but I feel like the best place to start this and pretty much every interview that I do with bootmakers is just to get into how you became interested in bootmaking initially, since it is so random nowadays.
Well, I I started doing repairs, and after I started doing repairs, I started watching YouTube videos, and of course, I seen Lisa Sorrell's her videos on YouTube showing her making custom boots, and every year I'd try to go to Wichita Falls just to try to find used equipment for repairs, for my repair shop and everything. And when I'd go, I would look at just all the custom boots that people were making and just found it really cool. And it just wasn't stuff that you just see on the shelf, just a lot more interesting boots. And just thought it'd be cool to, eventually make my own pair of custom boots. And so just kept checking them out.
Cool. So then is that how you decided to seek out Randy Moe, or did something else happen before you started apprenticing for Randy?
I actually, I started making a pair of boots in probably 2018 by myself. And that was just watching Lisa's videos online.
Of course, you had your repair experience with that.
Right. Yeah. And I got a little ways into it. And Ray Dorwart from Guthrie, he's a really good bootmaker in Guthrie. He came by my shop one day to pick up some polish or something. It was actually the first time I met him. And anyway, we got to talking, and he said, he asked if I'd ever thought about making boots. And I said, well, I started a pair, but I didn't get very far. And he said, well, why not? Where are you at? So he wanted to look at what I was working on. So I showed him. He's like, looks like you kind of got the general idea. Finish them. Like, okay. So I finished them. And they turned out okay. But how I made those with, as far as the patterning, I tore an old pair of boots apart that would fit me as an old pair of Acme boots. And I just totally disassembled them and made a pattern out of them and built a pair from that pattern. And they worked, and they actually fit really well. I bought lasts from Lisa and everything. And so I decided, but there was a few things I didn't like as far as sizing wise. So I decided I'd try to change my patterns a little bit on my own, not really knowing what I was doing pattern wise. And so I made a second pair, and they were horrible. They didn't fit right at all. And so I was like, okay, I've got to find somebody who knows what they're doing and actually learn how to make patterns and get a little deeper into it before I go any farther. So that's whenever I actually got a hold of Randy. And that was after talking to a few other people too that got me to Randy. So that's where that came.
Okay. where were you? I'm kind of interested. Where were you in the process of that first boot before you got the encouragement to finish it? Was it before the soles were on? Was it like lasted? Where did you decide to take a break?
I had the tops done. I didn't have the vamps or counters stitched together, stitched to the tops yet. I had my insoles ready and on the lasts, but yeah, I was to the point of putting the vamps and counters on, and then side seaming and stuff, but I didn't have anything good for side seaming. I mean, I had a curve needle, which I sew my, I used to sew my soles on. But I mean, people use it for that, but it's not ideal, especially when you've never done it before. But yeah, I was just at the putting the vamps and counters on, so I was still a little ways from finishing.
But you had the tops done. Was there a artistry design top stitching inlay in those tops? And is that something that you pursued really early on with your cowboy boots?
Yeah, I actually did inlay. I actually have them if you want to see them.
Yeah, we want to see.
You want to see my first boot? Yeah, let me grab them. They're right here. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Bobby Myers is going to get his first pair of boots right now. I remind everybody to put your questions in the live chat. This is a very awesome opportunity for you to ask questions of a bootmaker right here live on stream. Let's see these first pair of boots, Bobby.
Okay, so it's an old Acme pattern that I didn't realize was chickens till after I got them done.
Oh, I see.
I got my tops done. I was like, those are chickens. I didn't realize that, but I didn't use the right kind of leather. I just used stuff that I had laying around because I didn't want to put a bunch of money into something that I didn't know how it was going to turn out. But that's my first boot. I've barely worn it. I've worn it some, and it fits pretty good. But wow. Yeah, that's first one.
Wow. So the artistry started on the first boot. It looks great. What is the leather that you chose for this, and what made it the wrong leather?
I have no idea what it was. I bought it. There's a place in Tulsa called EC Leather, and they just have all kinds of. It's like $1.79 a square yard or whatever square foot leather, and I just picked up some leather and thought, yeah, I'll try that. And then these colors came out way lighter than I expected them to. I wasn't real happy with color wise and stuff, but I don't know what it was. And the vamp even, I have no idea. I don't think it's bull hide. It's too soft. It's just some really cheap leather that I found. Just to see if I could even do it. Like I said, I hate to put too much money into something that I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. So,
wow,
but yeah,
that looks great.
That was my first pair.
They look great. They look great. At least on Zoom, they look great.
Well, they're not horrible for a first pair.
That's great. Thank you for showing us that.
Yeah, no problem.
Really, really cool. And I'm happy to see like that the artistry was there from the beginning, and you tried inlay on your first pair. That's really impressive.
That's what more interested me, whenever I was at the show, was the ones that had a lot of inlay and stuff. And I look at pictures of old boots, from 40s and 50s, and they had so much inlay, and that's what I like. That's what I really like about the old boots like that.
No doubt. It's a great, great look. Speaking of your progression here, we talked about how you came to meet Randy Moe, but what is it like to apprentice with him?
It's awesome. He's really just calm, and if you do something and it doesn't, if it's pretty good, he'll say, that'll work. But, if you went ahead and did this, it could probably be a lot cleaner. And, he pushes you for sure to make it better, which is what I needed. I mean, my top stitching, I had no idea what I was doing top stitching. I was way too far away from the edge, and he taught me. He's taught me so much, and he's constantly learning still. Like a lot of guys, I feel like a lot of people will get to the point where they don't necessarily want to hear other people's opinions on stuff. They've already got it figured out. Not everybody, but there's some. But he's constantly wants to learn more stuff and different ways of doing things, because you never know what's better. I really enjoy working with him. He's a great friend. I go, even if I'm not going to go work on something, I like to go up there and just hang out, just talk boots with him.
That's awesome. I love being around those kinds of people too, who just want to soak up as much knowledge, even if it's just different from what they grew up with, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's sort of the key to a real master of their craft, is that not that they reached a point where they feel like they can't learn anymore, but they learn as much as possible and continue seeking out more knowledge and other ways to do things.
Right. Yeah. And he's definitely one of those. So we talk about, he'll call different bootmakers while I'm up there if we've got a question about something, but well, let's call, Cricket Garcia or who, just different bootmakers and see what they have to say about it. See if there's an easier or better way of doing it. So it's really cool. And I get to know other bootmakers that way too.
Yeah, it expands your network. Have you ever visited other bootmakers that Randy would just call up?
I haven't yet. We've talked about just go on a road trip and go see some of the guys, just go to their shop and visit with them, go have dinner, and hang out. And we're planning on doing that soon. Hopefully it works out. Definitely.
Well, sounds like a fun trip.
Yeah.
So you're learning a lot from Randy Moe, but I also am kind of curious in what you learned from having your shoe repair shop and how that has influenced your boot making as well.
As far as the boot repair, probably where it's helped me a lot, as far as helping me, finishing work, as far as finishing heels and soles and all that stuff. I work on hundreds of boots a year, and when you're doing half soles and heels and stuff all the time, just it's kind of second nature, finishing heels and everything. So I think anybody that gets into bootmaking, if they could do some repair for a while, is for sure a good thing to do. But seeing things in other boots, I see stuff from other bootmakers that I'm like, man, that's a good idea. You pull it apart and it's like, I like the way that they did that. And you can incorporate that in your own boots that you're making. So I really like that part of it too.
Does that happen with factory boots or when you're repairing custom boots?
Mainly custom boots. Factory boots, you more see stuff that you want to try to not do. Not that they're made in a factory. They're trying to rush them through and make money on them, not put as many hours into them and stuff. But there's a huge difference between. In fact, it's a whole lot more work to repair a custom boot than it is a factory boot. As long as the factory boot isn't totally destroyed. But as far as doing half soles and heels, it's a lot more work on a custom boot. But yeah, I don't get a whole lot from the factory boots really, as far as stuff that I can use.
What makes it a lot more work to repair a custom boot from a factory boot?
A lot of it is glues that they use. And in fact, I've been trying to talk to some of them and tell them stuff that would make them where they don't tear apart as easy and stuff. because some boots, whenever you start taking them apart on a custom boot, they're glued so well that you can rip the welts or whatever, and they're just almost impossible. But that does make them harder to get apart for sure. And then you want to shape around the shank of the boot, and they have a lot more to shape around and make it look nice there than what a factory boots are really flat on the bottom, so there's no shaping anything really. It just you cut your skive, glue it, and sand it pretty good, and you're good. But the others, you really have to wet them and case your soles and everything. So it's definitely there's a lot more time. It's a lot more time consuming on a custom boot.
Interesting. So is that something that you've incorporated into your boot making, is using different glues from most custom boot makers to make it easier to repair for yourself?
From what I've seen, yeah. I don't know what all custom boot makers. I just the ones that I've had in my shop. Some of what I use, I can use a thinner, and it will release the glue, and I can take it apart without tearing anything up. I've got a pair of boots that guys brought in 15 times. I've done 15 pairs of half soles on them, and they're still in good shape.
Whoa.
So it's because I can take it apart. But if you use Barge or Masters or something like that, they're glued so good that it starts tearing leather when you start taking it apart. Not that it's great glue. I'm not bad mouthing the glue. It's really good glue. It's just it's hard on the boot when you start resoling. It's from my experience. Unless there's something you're doing that they do different, but I have a hard time getting it loose without messing it. After a while, without messing anything up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never realized that. I would have always thought that the factory boots would be more difficult to repair just because of the processes that they use, like that. I don't know what you would call it. It's that cloth rib that they use instead of on the welt, rather than actually putting the welt right into the insole. I always thought that made it more difficult for you to repair those kinds of boots and other repair folks out there.
As long as they're not worn down too far to like where they're worn all the way through the insole and their socks touching the ground, then they're easier.
Oh, okay.
Quite a bit easier, yeah. Because you can just replace. There's a foam pad in there that I'll either go back with foam or use cork or something like that, or leather, depending on what they had originally. But yeah, they're actually way easier. I don't know if you've had any boots that have come separated, like the soles have separated from the welt.
Yes.
Have you ever? Okay. So with a custom boot, you don't hardly ever see that, but from a factory boot, they don't glue them very well a lot of times. So once you break through your stitches, they'll start pulling apart at the welt and stuff. So that does make a lot of difference.
Wow. Okay. I always thought that was because, I mean, it makes sense that it's the glue, but I always thought that it was also because I would like get my boots really wet and then continue to wear them, and then they get wet again, and because of that leather outsole, because it doesn't happen to my rubber outsole boots. Only the leather ones do they separate from the welt.
Yeah, and I do hundreds of half soles a year, and I never have any come back with that problem. They're always still glued, and they'll have worn all the way through the stitches, have a hole in the bottom of them, and they won't come loose. It's just that they only use probably one layer of glue and stick them together and move on. And they may not rough it up before they do it, so you just don't have as good of a bond as far as that goes.
All right. Okay. So that's the trick. It's not just the water. Maybe that has nothing to do with it at all.
I mean, it might some, but I haven't seen that as far as ones that I've done. But I get a lot of factory boots that have come apart like that. So.
Gotcha. It makes sense. I just got a pair repaired that had that happen to it. It happens quite often
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
So,
It's really common.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the work that you've done, we have a viewer in the live chat, Little Smokey, who says, sure appreciate the repair of Tony Llamas that you did for me. Amazing work.
Well, cool. That's
Yeah.
cool to hear. Yeah.
And we have some questions in the live chat. So let's take a break from some of the questions that I have prepared and get into this live chat. I want to remind everybody that if you have a question for Bobby Myers, please put it in the live chat. We're talking about custom boot making and boot repair. If you have any questions regarding either, we have a question here from Smack Daddius, which comes up every interview that I do. This one is from Smack Daddius. What is your favorite leather to work with?
As of right now, I haven't worked with a lot of exotics and stuff yet. I've only made 7 pair of custom boots now.
Only 7?
Yeah, I've made 7
Wow.
pair. And that includes the first 2 I did before I was with Randy. But as far as what I've used so far would be probably Softy Buffalo. I'm getting ready to, I've got some alligator that I'm getting ready to use soon anyway. So I'll know more about that. I've used bull hide and I like it once it's done. It's a little harder to work with. But as far as just easy to work with and seems to hold up really well, it's the Softy Buffalo.
Is that the same thing as water buffalo calf?
I believe so. I'm not positive on that, but I think that's right.
I really like that too. It looks very similar and feels very similar. I was just always curious because I've heard a lot of people say Softy Buffalo too. And I've always been wondering if it's the same as water buffalo or water buffalo calf. It is an incredible leather. I love how comfortable it is. It's elastic and so soft. It lives up to that name, which is why I feel like it's sort of the same thing.
It may be. I'm also not positive on that, but that may be the same thing. I'm not real sure.
It's an awesome leather, and Smack Daddius has a pair of those from the boot collab that I did with BNV. So super soft and very, very nice. We got another question in here from Mike K. How would you guide a customer if they have no idea what custom design they wanted? What are you looking for as you get to know the customer?
I haven't done a whole lot of customer work as far as, making custom boots for people yet.
But you made a pair for your wife.
Yes, I did.
How did you decide on that design?
She actually completely chose that design, but she just didn't want the colors. So I would say, from what I know, which isn't, like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of it yet. I'm pretty new at this, but I would say, look at, if you like vintage boots, or find a style of boot that you like, and maybe try to find pictures on Pinterest or something like that of the styles that you like, and then figure out if there's different colors, and figure out your toe shape and stuff that you really like, and maybe go from there. That, like I said, I haven't done a whole lot of it yet, so I'm still new. I'm still learning for sure.
Wow. Well, for 7 pairs and 2 of them award-winning, have you won any other awards at previous roundups?
No, I'd only put 1 pair in, and it was the 3rd pair I made. It was actually I had made the tops and I had them sewn and ready to go, but I just wasn't liking. It was before I knew how to do any of the patterning or anything, and that's when I found Randy, and he helped me finish them out and bottom them out and everything, as far as knowing how to do it. And I put those in them the year before last, and but I didn't win. I knew I wouldn't, but figure what the heck, it'd be cool to have a pair in the show anyway. So
Yeah, well, I mean, out of 7 pairs and 3 that you actually entered, you have 2 award-winning pairs of boots. That's a pretty good winning percentage when it comes to custom boots. I hope you can
Yeah,
keep it up.
me too. Me too. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's so cool. We got another question in here from Carol Burgess, and I want to remind everybody that if you have questions, please put them in the live chat. Carol Burgess asks, what things do you wish you could have learned or would have learned earlier in your career?
Oh, pattern making for sure. I mean, and I wish I could have started a lot younger, just learning how to build boots. I mean, as far as that goes, I started in 2015 doing repairs, and then 2018 trying to build boots. But yeah, pattern making, just knowing how to build the patterns to make different size boots and different height of tops and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure. That that would be my first thing.
It sounds like a good way to go. Let's get back to some of the questions that I've prepared for this. And I want to remind everybody that if you have any questions for Bobby, you can put them in the live chat at any time. And I want to thank everybody who has asked those questions so far. Let's get back to the awards that you won. Artistry Intermediate category and Top Stitching Open category. How do you view the cross of art and function in cowboy boots, and what led you to that recent recognition? I mean, maybe not recent because your first pair had art in it, but why do you love that side of it so much?
Uh, as far as the cross between, I'm trying to think exactly what you mean on that.
Well, there's like, it seems like with every custom boot maker, there's a cross between like art and function. Like the boot, you have this canvas, right? But it's also a tool for the cowboy at the same time. So how do you
Right.
view that? And what made you so drawn to the art side of it? Not saying that your boots aren't super functional, but you paid attention to it and that first pair of boots, right? And it was when you finished that art side on the tops, that's where you stopped, and until you got the encouragement to finish it. So what do you love so much about that art side of cowboy boots?
I've always I've always been into like old vintage bicycles and vintage guitars and anything old and old school, just really, really early stuff. And my brother grew up, I didn't, but my brother grew up watching Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and, all these the old singing cowboys. And they always had the coolest boots, I mean, they always had just these fancy, elaborate boots. And it was just something I always thought was so cool. And you don't really see it anymore as far as that goes. But in that, it's just so much more interesting to me. And, people, as far as the tops go, you don't have to wear them on the outside. They're covered up anyway, as far as that goes. So you can do whatever you want up top and nobody will ever see it anyway. But you can take it home and put it on your shelf and it be a piece of art, too. So I don't know, just being able to wear a piece of art or put it on a shelf, put it above your fireplace or whatever. I think that's really cool. There's not a whole lot of mediums that you can do that. Most stuff is just a fixed thing that you can't use, once it's art. I think it's really cool to have something that's actually usable and still be an art. I just think it's cool.
I think that's really cool too. And the way that you're describing those shows, the boots that Roy Rogers used to wear and how decorative they were, it kind of reminds me of the pair that you won the award for, that you made for your wife. Do you have those behind you that you could show, or is she out wearing them right now?
They're actually up at my shop. I should have brought them with me. I almost brought them, but I've been so busy today. I didn't have time to grab them. The only ones I have are the tulip boots with me. But yeah, those are actually a Gene Autry pattern. A pattern of one that he had made, whenever he had some made, but he had different colors. But yeah, she found that one, and she's a photographer, and she has bluebird photography, and so she wanted some with bluebirds on it, and it fit really well. But yeah, I don't actually have them here.
No worries. They're your wife, so she should be wearing them and should be so proud of them. And I want to remind everybody that you can watch the video that I made from Wichita Falls, where you can see those boots up close and see Bobby Myers winning the award for artistry on those boots. Congrats again for them, because they are amazing. Can you show us the top stitching one behind
Yes.
you there with the tulips? You won the open category for top stitching, which is the highest level you can go in top stitching.
Yeah. So I don't know how close you want it. There's what they look like.
That looks great. Now, could you give us a close-up of the stitching? Because the stitching is really tight and looks very cool. Look at that, everybody. The award-winning top stitching boots. Looks great. It looks great.
Thank you.
How difficult is it to get your top stitching that tight?
Well, whenever I started those, I didn't need glasses. But after I started them, after I'd been doing them for a while, I've had to start wearing readers now, which I never had to wear before. So yeah, it makes your eyes cross a lot. I mean, and I hadn't really done much top stitching before those, so it was, yeah, they were pretty tough. A lot of hours in those for sure.
Is it worth it wearing the readers now after you won the award for those?
Yeah, it's worth it. I'm getting the age. I've probably been wearing them anyway. So
that's what I'm talking about. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. What does winning those awards mean to you? Is it something that you are proud of to increase the price of your boots, or is it just something to give you a little bit of validation to continue? What does it mean for you to win those awards?
I mean, honestly, I think I kind of got lucky with them, honestly, because there was some really nice boots in that contest. I mean, the ones I went up against on the top stitching were awesome, and so were the artistry boots. It just is kind of what people like at the time, I think. I thought it was really cool that I won it. It helped with the validation as far as that goes, but I honestly think I just got lucky because there was great boots everywhere there. It was an awesome show last year.
Yeah, it was super competitive, especially the artistry category. I mean, some of those inlays and stuff that you had, that you were competing against, I had no idea who was going to win that category. It was definitely not obvious. Neither was the top stitching category. I don't think any of the categories were obvious. It was a very competitive year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think it's great, and I'm happy that you won. Congratulations again. I know I said congratulations like 7 times already while we've been talking, but I think it's very cool that you've only made 7 pair, and you got 2 award winners there. Really, really cool. Let's jump back into the chat here with some questions. I see some more folks have put in some questions here. We got another one from Smack Daddius. What is a color for cowboy boots that you never thought would work, but actually looks great for a color leather type combo? And maybe it's a pair of boots that you saw come through your shop too, your repair shop.
Yeah. let's see. I'm trying to think. I see so many boots come through. Hmm. I can't think of one right at this second, honestly. Nothing's jumping out at me.
It's tough, right? Because
It
I'm
is.
sure that a lot that you just see are just the browns and blacks, right? That's
Yeah,
the most popular colors that you see for cowboy. Even the brown tops, like that is just cowboy boot through and through. That I feel like most people just need to have one of those kinds of boots.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't made that many for myself or for other people. So I haven't seen that many customs, or I haven't done that many customs that I just haven't, I can't think of anything offhand that's just super, just crazy looking.
Yeah,
But
crazy looking, or like just works all the time. Like I feel
yeah.
like the cognac foot to the chocolate top works really well, like the
Oh
lighter
yeah.
brown to darker brown tops, lighter brown foot. I think that always looks classy as just a regular combination. What else do I have over here? I like colored tops with any kind of foot. Like, just give me some color under my pants,
Yeah.
man. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. 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 I like all the blues, the greens, on the vamps. I think that's awesome. And then whatever colors on the tops. I mean, there's a lot of crazy color, but they look good. I mean, I haven't seen that. I just can't think of any that I've seen that is too crazy.
I know. I'm not very picky either. It's like all these boots look great. I haven't really seen a boot that's like, ugh, that color
Yeah.
just doesn't work. Usually it's something else that doesn't work for me, but not the colors. Like I'm here for all the colors.
Right.
We got another question here from Sweet Marie Honeybee, who asks, may we see the cream colored boots behind you? I think they're the ones that are just next to the tulip boots.
Yep. Those are These were actually my third pair of boots
Wow.
that I finished, that Randy helped me finish. That I went to Randy after I had my tops done. So these are the Chief boots. So I had already done the tops, and then we finished them out whenever I went there. So
Wow, that looks great.
thank
Awesome
you.
inlay on those ones too. And you put those in for a Wichita Falls Boot and Saddle Maker Roundup competition as well?
I did. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
category?
It was the artistry, the intermediate.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Nice.
I went up against Steve. I'm blanking on
Christo,
it. Yes. Yeah, and he smoked me. I mean, his were so good that year.
Perrin
What's that?
Creek.
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny because you went up against him this past year and beat him.
Well, I was in the intermediate and he was in the open, I believe.
Oh, he was in the open. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. You were in two
Yeah.
different categories. I
Yeah.
always forget which ones you won in the top stitching and which one you won in the artistry.
Yeah. 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 He built some really cool boots.
He does. Oh my gosh, those steampunk ones that he had this year were incredible. I
Oh
was
yeah.
surprised he didn't win.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, for sure.
Mike K in here asks, where is your shop located, in which city?
It's Stillwater, Oklahoma.
And that's right where the boot shop is. Do you make boots in the same city?
I do. Yep.
All right.
It's in Stillwater.
Stillwater it is. Mike K also asks, how did you find out about the Bootmaker competition? He answered this earlier because he went to Wichita Falls to get equipment for the shop. Is that correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you were already there. What would be the ultimate pair of boots to make at this point in your career? Carol Burgess asks.
I'd like to make a one-piece top. That I'd really like to do a one-piece top. Lots of inlay. I'd like to do some foxing on the toes, maybe on the heels, just all out, just as much inlay and overlay as possible. I mean, as long until it looks good, not too much where it's overdone. But yeah, one piece tops for sure.
The one piece tops. Oh man, I remember I saw you at the Lisa Sorrell presentation on one piece tops. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, Bobby is already working on it. He was at the conference at Lisa Sorrell's presentation about those Oklahoma boots. When you saw her present about that, did you get the impression that, okay, I can do this? Or did you get the impression of like, wow, there's way more to this than I thought initially?
Yeah, it was the way more than I thought, because I went into it thinking, oh, it couldn't be that bad. But the more she talked, the more I was like, I don't think I'm quite ready for that. So yeah, I'm gonna do a few more things first before I put that much pressure on myself. So we'll see.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
It sounded like a lot. I mean, I've never made a pair of boots before, but just listening to Lisa Sorrell talk about how she made one piece tops, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Me
why
too.
we don't see them very often.
Yes. Yeah, they seem tough. I'm sure I'll try it eventually if I live long enough, but I'm not ready for it yet, I don't think.
Well, I look forward to seeing them when you are. Since you aren't ready for that, I feel like this is a good transition into my next question here. What is your favorite part of the boot making process right now? It's not the one piece tops, but what else might be the most interesting part of the boot making process, or the part that you look forward to the most when making boots?
I love doing the tops. Just I love doing inlay, and just I like the skiving. I mean, it's a pain. It takes forever, but I like the skiving, the stitching it all together, and just seeing what it comes out like. And the cutting out I didn't know about using a chisel on a 3115, like to cut out your pieces and stuff, until Randy had done everything with an X-Acto knife. That chisel's awesome. I mean, just be able to use that to cut out your pieces so everything's way cleaner. And yeah, I really enjoy anything to do with the tops for sure. That's my favorite.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, we're talking about artistry of cowboy boots and the fact that you won top stitching and artistry. And this interview, I even titled the artistry of cowboy boots. So I'm so glad that you answered that way, because it fits right into everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So you love the tops, not quite ready for the one piece tops yet though. So what is next for you in boot making? If it's not the one piece tops, what is next?
I want to do some toe foxing. I'm probably going to start doing that. Just some kind of decorative toe, toe foxing, possibly heel. Putting some more work into the vamps and counters. I did do some. I finished some up a while back with some toe bugs. That was my first toe bugs that I've done. So that was pretty cool. I was a little worried about that, because you get everything done and then you sew that and hope that everything lines up right, and you can get, I just hadn't done it before, but it came out pretty good. So now I'd like to do some toe foxing for sure.
We have another question in here from Mike that I was really curious about after looking at your Instagram, but I didn't add it to the questions that I prepared, but I'm so glad that Mike put it in here, who is really interested to talk about the twisted red rose that you posted on Instagram. Yeah. I don't know if you have them there or an example with you, but I've always been interested in that process of twisted roses or pinching roses. Could you talk a little bit about what that is like?
Yeah. I I had, obviously I had never done any before, and Randy hadn't done any before either. So we actually called Cricket Garcia down in Texas, who's a awesome bootmaker. He's been building boots for years, and so he told us kind of how to go about it. Um, they're they're tough to stitch is one of the main things I found out about those. Just because you've got all the little humps over the petals where they overlap, and so sometimes your stitches don't want to catch underneath, and so you have to be real slow and make sure everything's actually catching as you go around them. But yeah, they're not too bad. You just the way I did it was I put a little bit of rubber cement behind them, um, just a little, and then twisted them by hand and got them ready. And actually, I had all my roses ready, and then I came back in and lined them up how I wanted behind the overlay, and then glued them back there, and then stitched it all. But yeah, those were time consuming. I don't have them here. Um, they're not quite finished yet. I'm close. Uh, it's so hard to find time to work on everything that I have to do. So I'm getting close. Getting close.
Well, they look great. I'm so excited to see what they look like finished because the tops look incredible. I would encourage everybody to go over to Instagram and follow Bobby Myers. It's Myers Custom Boots.
Yes.
Follow that account right after this. You won't regret it. I want to start closing out the interview, and I want to thank you for your time here today. But I have one last question, and it's if someone wanted to order boots from you, how would they go about doing that to get a custom pair?
They can either, check with me on Instagram on the Myers Custom Boots. I've got a Facebook account too. Same thing. Stillwater Boot and Shoe Repair. They can call me there. Um, I, I would need, I'd need them to come in and measure and all that kind of stuff. But to get the process started, just give me a call or message me on one of the, Instagram or Facebook even.
Perfect. And I would encourage everybody who's interested in getting a beautiful pair of Artistry with their cowboy boots to contact Bobby Myers because his winning percentage is incredible right now. So you might even want him to include the boots that he makes you if you end up getting any of you watching,
right.
listening in the next competition, and you'd have award-winning boots.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Yeah. Sure.
Well, thank you so much, Bobby, for spending your time with us today.
Sure. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. And I want to remind you guys to check out Bobby Myers on Instagram, Myers Custom Boots. We're going to sign off here. Bobby, if you want to stick around for a second on the Zoom call. But for everybody else, thank you so much for watching this evening and listening to our conversation on this Ask the Bootmaker episode. And we'll see you around. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one. Oh.